Well, I'm just thrilled to be here. It has been just an exciting day for me as I've watched you get so excited about this conference. And it's wonderful to be back in the Rogue Valley. Yesterday, my husband, who's actually here, and I'm thrilled that he's here, my husband and I flew in from the Bay Area. And as our plane was coming over Mount Ashland and the Rogue Valley opened up to us, I was just filled with fond memories. I mean, I grew up here when Medford was a lot smaller. And I remember very fondly picnics with my family at Lithia Park, where my brother and I would run from one end of the park to the other. And my family taught me how to fly fish on the Applegate River. I think it's now Napa North. It wasn't when I grew up. And a little known fact, I was the tetherball champ in the 6th grade at Jackson Grade School. Today, as I took the opportunity to go to some of the small group discussions that you went to, I was very, very impressed with the quality of the panel leaders and their openness to share their expertise with you. And I thought about how I would be feeling if I was in your chair at basically 3:30 this afternoon after hearing all of this. And I thought I might feel a little overwhelmed, but actually very excited about lots of new possibilities. And so I thought that it seemed to me that the right place to start then is to sort this out, is to have me ask you a question. How do you take what you learned today and apply it in your life? How do you walk out that door with a plan, with some sense of where to begin? Now, you heard a little bit about my background in my introduction. And at each stage of my career, I have been very fortunate to find success. I began my career teaching a classroom full of 6th graders. Then I was promoted to being a vice principal of an elementary school when I was 24 years old. And I can remember my first staff meeting, sitting around and looking at the teachers, and many of them had taught longer than I was old. And I knew I had a lot to learn. Later, I directed a federal project that integrated special education children into the regular classroom. And I got my master's degree in special ed at that time. That project went on to become the model for statewide legislation. I then moved to Sacramento and became one of the youngest consultants hired in the State Department of Education. After about 15 years of working in education, I transitioned into residential real estate in Menlo Park, California. At that time, Menlo Park was a very quiet suburban town, and now it's in the hub of Silicon Valley. These days, I dedicate much of my time to mentoring women on finding their dreams and then setting goals to achieve them, and what are the keys to success. So all of these experiences, all of these chapters in my life have been wonderful times for me. So when I was invited to speak here today, I reflected on what helped to make me successful in real estate and in education, different but related careers. And this afternoon, I would like to share some ideas that have contributed to that success. The first key to success, I believe, is to get a clear vision about what you want. Something that you can get excited about. We've heard the word passion many times today. I support that. I think if you're going to take off onto something, you need to actually feel really great about it. I think it's something that needs to be aligned with your core values and your strengths. Then set goals to reach it. Now, for many years, I have taught goal-setting workshops for women. And in these workshops, I challenge each woman to choose at least one exciting new project, something that will make a huge positive impact in her life. So what do I mean by get a vision? Well, let's start back in the Rogue Valley to find our answer. You probably recognize this person. When I was a student at Southern Oregon, a required course for future teachers was speech and drama. And my professor was Angus Bomer. It was great. Professor Bomer took time at the start of each of our classes to update us on how the theater was going. One day, he told us a story about when his dream for the theater actually began. He told us that his wife and he had vacationed in England at Stratford-upon-Avon, the birthplace of William Shakespeare. And when they visited the Elizabethan theater there, he said that he turned to his wife and said, "Why don't we have an Elizabethan theater in Ashland?" Now that was unthinkable at the time. So he said what he did was take out a piece of paper and draw a sketch of the theater. He told us that he paced it off, actually, width, depth, and that he eyeballed the height. Came back some years later, he met with community leaders, and the Oregon Shakespeare Theater all started with a vision by Angus Bomer. Now today, I would like to challenge you to get one vision for yourself, at least one exciting vision out of this seminar, and get a clear picture of what that would look like for you. I would like you to be able to walk out the door and be able to answer the question, what's my new vision for myself? When I conduct goal-setting workshops, I ask each woman to actually draw a picture of what her life will look like once she has achieved her vision. There's a quotation at the top of the worksheet by the respected author Stephen Covey that reads, "The main thing is to keep the main thing the main thing." And what's the main thing? It's your goal or your vision. Now, so each woman goes up in front of the room after she's drawn her picture, and she then describes her vision, and she tells us 4 or 5 goals to get there. A couple of examples. Judy is a married woman with grown children, and like many women, Judy relied on her husband to manage their finances. And after a turn of events, Judy found herself needing to become more financially literate. She imagined herself becoming so proficient in finance that she could actually write a book for other women. And in her picture, she shows herself signing books at an author's event. Erica is a 40-year-old mother of 2 children who was an operating room nurse at a liver transplant center in San Francisco. She took the idea even further and made a collage showing the multiple visions in her life. A phrase I've heard mentioned today, work-life balance. So step 1, I believe, is to identify and get clear about your vision. Then write goals and action plans. Now, you may ask, why start with the vision? There are a couple of answers. In a recent article in the Harvard Medical Review, behavioral scientists reported, now listen to this, people who focus day by day, people, that's you and me, who focus day by day will experience very little change in their lives. I think that's a very profound statement. Neuroscientists at Stanford who have been studying addicts of all types, drugs, alcohol, gambling, eating disorders, they have found that before meaningful change could take place in an addict's life, they needed to have a new vision for themselves. Other scientific studies show that our brain actually becomes more efficient when we give it a goal. Goals actually put your brain to work for you. Step 2, you need to go public. You need to tell someone. Now, think about it. When does commitment actually begin? It begins when you tell someone, not when you keep it inside. Now, who do you tell? It's a very important question. Someone who's positive and encouraging, maybe a mentor or a business coach, like there's some marvelous ones in this room, or someone in your network, like you've met many today at this conference. Getting yourself supported is an important key to success. Malcolm Gladwell, in his best-selling book, Outliers, says that one of the key qualities of successful people, they ask for help. So tell someone and then get yourself supported. Now, in my career, when the demand for my time outweighed my availability, my energy, I actually added staff members, and we became an awesome team. Certainly a theme you've heard over and over again today. In fact, I have the privilege of having one of my key team members with me today, who came all the way from the Bay Area, Sherry Luttrell. Sherry, would you stand up? You know, you've talked a lot today about teams. Well, Sherry was just the constant in my team, and she was my right hand. My husband's always called Sherry my secret sauce of success. So if you want to know how we really became successful, I suggest you just nab Sherry at the reception today. Now, attending this wonderful, stimulating conference is the perfect first step toward change and growth. And I suspect that today has given you the opportunity to formulate some new ideas about your own leadership and a new vision for yourself. Now the challenge begins. What do you do with these new ideas? You see, new ideas are a very powerful beginning, but they're not enough. Writing your goals is a critical tool, but it's still not enough. Your commitment begins when you tell someone, when you talk about it. But talk is not enough. Like the Chinese proverb says, talk does not cook rice. So you might ask, what's next? What do you do after all this? Answer, you need to take action. You need to take the first step. See, life is not a spectator sport. You've got to get out of the bleachers and onto the field. But this is the good news for all you perfectionists. You don't have to have a perfect plan to take the first step. But you do need to take the first step and then the next. I love these quotes about taking action. I love this. Even if you're on the right track, you will get run over if you just sit there. And you cannot get to second base with your foot on first. Now, sometimes when you step into a new vision and you set goals, you have to reach deep inside to find some courage. Now, why courage? You see, think about it. What emotion usually follows when we take on something new? What emotion? Fear, absolutely. Action can be your greatest weapon against fear. Now, I know that there are other ways to overcome fear, certainly prayer, meditation, yoga, chocolate chip cookies, a truffle. Dale Carnegie said, if you want to conquer fear, don't sit home and think about it. Get out and get busy. And Babe Ruth put it this way: don't let the fear of striking out keep you from playing the game. And I think that's a common, I'm going to speak for myself, the hardest thing is to step into something when I'm afraid. So action, action, action not only overcomes fear, action has another great benefit, one that I have seen over and over in my life. When you find the courage to embrace a new vision and you get into action, inevitably a new vision and a new opportunity follows. That's the reward. Now, here's a story in my life when one vision and then getting into action led to another very exciting vision and new opportunities, ones that I didn't even see coming. Early in my career, I made a very dramatic change that led me on a new path. As I mentioned, after graduating from Southern Oregon, I worked in education for several years. This led me to a position where I was living in Sacramento, working as a consultant to school districts. The job entailed a great deal of travel, visiting schools and classrooms, evaluating programs, giving talks on best practices, reviewing compliance matters. And I had the opportunity to visit many schools, and I saw a wide spectrum of teaching. Well, during this time, a vision kept forming in my mind. I wanted to start my own school. This is the truth. I envisioned myself buying a big old Victorian house and retrofitting it into a kindergarten to third grade school. Or I thought I would go onto a campus of a large corporation and I would set up a preschool. Or there were school districts that had declining enrollment. I might lease some space from them. Questions kept going through my mind. Can I do this? Should I do it? When should I do it? Where should I do it? And oh my God, should I move to a new community where I don't even know anyone? These would all be very big changes in my life. Now, my territory for the State Department was San Mateo County. And when I visited the town of Menlo Park, it felt just right to me. It was a small town in the middle of an urban area. It actually reminded me of growing up in Medford. It was near Stanford University, where I could take classes. It was a town with a family feeling that seemed a great match for my own values. This idea of starting my own private school kept running through my mind. And one day, I had an epiphany at the strangest place. I was driving down the freeway, and an ad came on the radio for Anthony's School of Real Estate. And I thought, you know, if I'm going to start my own school, maybe this is a good place to begin. I knew very little about real estate at the time. And if I was going to buy a big old house or lease space, I needed to know much more about how to assess value. And what on earth was a net lease anyway? So to get the hang of it, I enrolled in a few classes in Anthony's school. And to my surprise, I found it really interesting. And soon after, I passed my real estate exam. Well, one thing led to another until I took a big leap of faith and I gave my notice at the State Department. My thought at the time was that I would sell real estate for a year or two until I got the hang of it. And then I would open my private school once I really understood values. Well, after I moved to Menlo Park, I walked into the top 3 real estate offices and applied for a job. And you know that adage, if at first you don't succeed, try again? The first 2 offices turned me down. One manager told me she didn't think I'd be successful. She asked me, how many people do you know? And I said, well, I really don't know anybody. And what clubs or organizations do you belong to? Well, I didn't belong to any. So fortunately, the third manager, for whom I'm forever grateful, offered me a desk for a 6-month trial at real estate. And the rest was history. I found that I loved working with families buying or selling a home. A new career and an exciting chapter had begun. Now, this is the truth about change. When you step into a new vision, it takes some time to get comfortable. How major the change is going to depend on how long that's going to take. But you've got to get through that I don't have a clue stage. Now let me repeat that point because it's pivotal. When you step into a new vision, it's going to take you some time to get comfortable. Remember, we started this afternoon with finding a vision that you're really excited about. That's the creative part. Then you write your goals. That's having discipline part. You tell someone and get supported. That's when your commitment begins. When you get into action, that's when your dream starts to take shape. Now listen, when you're in the I'm over my head stage, your character and your courage are going to be tested. But this is the reward. When you get to the other side of scary, that's where mastery can occur. On the other side of scary is where success is possible at all. Can you see that? Greatness is on the other side of scary. So the next time that you take on a great new vision, something big for you, and you get to that I'm really scared part, I want you to tell yourself, that lady at the seminar said, if I'm feeling like that, I must be up to something big, and keep going. Recently, I watched a TED presentation by a very inspiring woman, Amy Cuddy. And the funny thing is, I was at the restroom earlier, and there's a woman at the conference named Amy Cuddy. This is different Amy Cuddy. Amy put it this way. She said that you not only need to fake it till you make it, you need to fake it till you become it. Amy's advice was, and I quote, fake it and keep faking it. Do it and do it and do it. Even if you're terrified and paralyzed, you'll feel like an imposter. I absolutely felt that way. I was. That's why I felt that way. I was afraid I'd be found out. Until you have this moment where you say, oh my gosh, I'm doing this. I have become it. Now, so fake it until you become it, until you internalize it. When I started in real estate, I was absolutely faking it. I can remember one day when a man walked in the office to see a house that we had listed, and I said, I'd be really happy to show you the house. There was a small problem. I had no idea where the street was. None. So I got the information, I went into the bathroom, I went into the stall, I got on a map, I looked at the map, I went, okay, out the driveway, turn 4, left, okay, I got that. The first house I sold was in the town of La Honda, and I never knew where La Honda was. In a way, it would be like saying to you today, go to Butte Falls if you didn't know where it was. I didn't know where the town was. This very nice family walked in with a small child, and they asked me to see a house that had the for sale sign in the front yard in La Honda. And I said, I'd be really happy to show it to them. And I thought, oh my God, what am I going to do now? Would you mind driving? So there I was in the back seat with a 4-year-old child going to make my first sale. Things could only go up from there. I kept faking it until I had become it. And after a few years, I actually became a respected leader in my profession. Now, I knew that I had become it when my phone rang one day. And it was Ray Brown, who hosts a talk show on KGO Radio in San Francisco. And it's a call-in talk show where people ask their real estate questions. Ray is the author of 2 books, Home Buying for Dummies and Home Selling for Dummies. And I was very flattered when Ray asked me to be on his show, because usually he has owners of large real estate firms in the Bay Area or top attorneys for real estate. So I was very, very complimented to go. And so on a Saturday morning, I well remember I drove to San Francisco. I found a parking place. I went through security. I went up the elevator and into the offices of KGO. And oh my God, I was just scared to death. Ray graciously escorted me into the sound booth, and there were microphones, headsets, and 2 chairs. People started calling in with their real estate questions, and Ray and I soon established hand signals like this. No way, I don't know that one. Or, I got that one. Now, that day, in the studio of KGO Radio, I thought to myself, underneath it all, underneath all my success, I'm still that little girl that played tetherball in Jackson Grade School. And I am that teenager who graduated from Medford High, and that young woman who learned to be a teacher at Southern Oregon. And here I am answering people's questions over the sound waves in San Francisco. Who would have thought? Now, for over a decade, my real estate practice was featured in many prominent newspapers and magazines. And I want to share a few of them with you to make an important point. Worth magazine features a story about the town of Atherton, and that was in the heart of my territory. I spent half a day driving the reporter around the town. This is how the article begins. Atherton, California, one of America's 10 wealthiest communities, lies in a world of its own. It goes on to say, I am riding in a silver Mercedes, and my driver is real estate agent BarbaraTyler. The New York Times article about the lifestyle of the rich and famous in America, midway in the article it says, BarbaraTyler, an agent with Coldwell Banker, sold more residential real estate than anyone in the country. Her typical client is a mini mogul under 40. Now, I don't even know what a mini mogul is. The San Francisco Business Times, top residential brokers reveal the secrets of their success. The San Jose Mercury News, cottage of content. Top producing agent could live amid wealthiest but enjoys the allied arts area. And this article, super agent. Real estate superstar BarbaraTyler tells us what it takes to make it to the top. It goes on to say, sure, she fits the woman realtor image in that she drives a Mercedes, talks nonstop on her phone, and is a sharp dresser. But I like this part because it reminds me of Medford. There are no hard edges. She's so darn nice. That's my experience of you today. And this final article about my retirement. New chapter. I'm at a stage in my life where I'd like to take on a whole new pace, a new chapter, something entirely different. Now, these and many other articles were printed over a 10-year time span, and I share them with you to ask you this question. What can you surmise about my business approach, my business plan that would have led to this kind of success? Now, yes, we were definitely in the right place at the right time, in the middle of the booming Silicon Valley. But we knew our market backwards and forwards. It's obvious we were successful, so we had to keep our eye on production. Our business was sustainable to have that kind of coverage for well over 10 years. And it's pretty obvious that we had to anticipate the changes in the market, because it did change. And I've heard change mentioned in all the sessions today. Our market changed up and down, and we anticipated it, and we changed our strategies instantly. Our marketing plan was always innovative, and you won't be surprised to learn that we had clear, focused goals. But I think this is also key. My team and I were very aligned on our action plans. We pulled in the same direction. Now, all of these business approaches were critical to our success, no doubt. But what else? Well, I'm going to get to that. Over the years, I had the privilege of working with many marvelous people, a wide variety of clients, from very nervous and excited first-time buyers to sellers of magnificent estates. People of great influence and fame, industry leaders, mini moguls, as the New York Times said. On average, my team and I responded to well over 100 calls a day. And it became an adventure to see who would call next. I want to share 3 phone calls with you to demonstrate how exciting some of our days could be. The first call went like this. I was at the office, I well remember. I said, "Hello, this is Barbara." "Well, yes, of course, John. I'd be very happy to meet with you. Wednesday at 4 at your office? It'd be a privilege. I look forward to it," to list their home. John Sculley, the then CEO of Apple Computer. This call came in on my home on a Saturday, and I almost didn't believe it. It was like, "Good morning." "Well, yes, Steve. Yes, how are you?" "You'd like to show your wife one of my listings?" "My pleasure." Steve Jobs, Apple Computer. Now, this one may take a little bit of work on your part to put the pieces together. The voice on the other end of the line went like this. "Hello, my name is Charles Black, and my wife Shirley," that's your clue, "Shirley and I would like to meet with you to list our home." Shirley Temple Black. Was it great or what? Now, you might rightly ask, why did these calls come to us? I believe the answer is because we had a total service package. Yes, they came because of years of top performance, no doubt, and very effective marketing. That's an important strategy. But I believe that the critical factor responsible for these calls was that I had built my reputation on exceptional service with uncompromising integrity. I was known for putting my clients' needs ahead of my own. And I was known for being fair to everyone, including my competition. Now, Tom Peters, the management guru and author of the best-selling book, In Search of Excellence, put it this way. If you want to be more successful than your competition, provide better service with more integrity. Now, for me, that brings me full circle right back to Southern Oregon and Medford. What foundation was there in my background that led to this kind of success? What values did I take from the Rogue Valley? Now, my mother and father always instilled in us a very strong work ethic, and they stressed the value of guarding your reputation and treating others the way you want to be treated. But my father told us regularly, not just every now and then, no one can give away your integrity but yourself. It's very powerful, and I'll never forget it. Wise father. I miss it. And the minister at our church put it this way: integrity is what you do when you think no one's looking. Now, I worked my way through college as a legal secretary, and I had the privilege for working for a man that I looked up to and admired, Otto Frohnmeyer. You may recognize the family name, as his son David was the state attorney general and the past president of the University of Oregon. When I graduated from Southern Oregon and was heading off to California to become a teacher, Otto called me into his office and offered me this guidance. Now, if you happen to know him at all, he was very Germanic, very, very serious presence, and he looked across his desk and he said to me, "Barbara, I want to give you the same advice I gave my children when they went off to college. Remember who you are and what you represent, and when given a choice, always take the high road." You see, to me, success is defined by more than profit. Profit is important. I'm not saying it isn't. I'm not saying it's a bad thing. But I believe that success is defined by more than that. I believe that success begins and ends with your reputation. I think Tom Peters got it right. Provide better service with more integrity. Now, this afternoon, I have attempted to share with you various approaches that have contributed to my success and have enabled me to have the courage to change. I want to summarize them. I believe the creative phase is finding an exciting vision. I think the discipline phase is setting your goals to make it happen. Your commitment phase begins when you tell someone, and then take it and get yourself supported. Your vision starts to take shape when you take action one step at a time. Then there's the scary phase that leads to mastery, and that's fake it until you become it. The key to success, I believe, is serving with integrity. Now, it has been my pleasure to share this experience of this conference with you. You've been wonderfully attentive, and I want to give you two gifts, my gifts to you. The first takes a little explanation. I have been often asked why I don't write a book about my career. And so when I was thinking about coming here today, I asked myself this question: how many pages does a book have to be a book? This is my gift for you. And I called Jane, who had done my marketing all those years, and I said, "Jane, I'm going to this conference in Oregon, and I want to give them a book. And the name of the book is Having the Courage to Change. My journey from the Rogue Valley to Silicon Valley." So Jane designed this. I think it's quite brilliant. And it looks like an old leather-bound book. And as I was looking on the bookshelf at books and getting some ideas about the vision for this book, lots of books have seals on them, like #1 bestseller, New York Times, or the Booker Award, So this is the seal. Are you ready? Might just become the #1 bestseller. Now, it might not, but on the inside, I have listed what I consider to be the phases of having the courage to change and to find success. And then on the left are my personal favorite 3 lines of my whole talk. I worked on this talk for about 4 months, off and on. Edit, re-edit, throw it out. And when I got to these 3 lines, I then knew that I could stand up in front of you. When you get to the other side of scary, that's where mastery occurs. That's where greatness becomes a true possibility. Greatness is on the other side of scary. When you see this, I'm hoping that it will inspire you to move toward your vision. Now, the second gift is a stone. Now, it's not just any stone. This is a dream stone. When you leave today, you're going to choose your own dream stone. And what I want you to do, or ask you to do, is to whisper into this stone your dream, right, would I ask that? Your vision, something you're excited about that would be important for you. I want you to whisper that to it. Then put it in your pocket or your purse, and every time you touch it or feel it, may it help you to keep your dream alive. To close, I want to leave you with a wonderful quote. I just think this is so powerful. Vision without action is just a dream. Action with no vision is just passing time. And we know a lot of people who are very busy going nowhere. But this beautiful line, vision with action can change the world, your world. Thank you very much for today.